So exciting to be here. Although I think I owe you all a bit of an apology. I arrived Wednesday, a week ago Wednesday, 4 hours before the nor'easter hit. And everything has been all mixed up weather-wise ever since. So I'm not sure if I'm responsible or not, but if I am, sorry. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you for earlier. I really appreciate it. I can't believe that I am standing here in front of you today as a licensed Unity teacher, as a ministerial student. If you had met me just 10 years ago, you would have probably crossed the street to avoid running into me. No, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was prior to Unity. I went to my first Unity service in December of 2009, and that is where I first met Jim Rosemergy. I didn't know it then, but my life changed at that moment. I want to start the talk off. The title is What If Then What? How many of you have ever heard of Daniel Nahmod?
Yeah.
Musician. Some of you have not. He is a positive musician. He just is so talented, above and beyond anything that I have ever known. And he wrote a song, What If the Race Is Over? And you may have heard it. But I want to read a couple of lines to you because I think this will tell you where my talk is going. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game has ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? What if the race is over? What then? I don't know about you, but I will tell you this. For many, many years I had this negative projector running through my mind. You know those old-fashioned projectors that go with the movie reels, right? And it was never projecting positive stuff. It was always projecting catastrophic circumstances. It was always projecting what the worst would be like, never what the best might be like. And so this song and my talk is going to give you a little bit more insight into who I am, because I'm going to be around here for a little while now, I think, and a little bit about me and what I've learned so far in growing up in Unity over these last 8 years. I'm originally from New York City. My family is actually from Greenfield, Massachusetts, and I will tie this all together in just a minute for you because it's very confusing. But my parents got married in Greenfield, and my dad couldn't find a job, and so they moved to New York City 3 years before I was born. So I was born there, I was raised there, I lived 29 years in New York City. And then I got it into my head that New York was the problem and that Florida would fix me. And so I moved 1,500 miles away in 1989. In 1994, my father retired and moved from New York City back to Greenfield, Massachusetts. So that's where he still is. My mom has passed away. My daughter and my brother live with my father. And there are some health issues going on with my daughter and my dad. Well, my dad's 89, so just in general, he's a little bit slower than he used to be and could use a little extra help. And so it occurred to me that maybe I could come up this way and be closer to them. And not necessarily move in and try to fix everything about them, but just be with them. So in a roundabout way, I've never lived in New England ever, and yet when I decided to move up here to be closer to them, to help out with the situations they're going through, I felt like I was coming home. And then a week ago Friday, I met with several of you at Joe Ellen's beautiful community center hall there, and we had a wonderful time, and I felt more at home. And it was great. So it wasn't always that way for me. You know, growing up in New York, I always felt afraid. Not really sure of what, but I felt afraid. And I was always worried. I was always worried about something. And so my first what if was, what if they don't like me? Right? So I tried to be what everybody was, what they appeared to be. That's what I tried to be like. When you start that at an early age and you continue growing up, and then you become a young adult and then a middle-aged adult, living this way, it becomes a challenge, because now you lose sight of anything that you might like. You lose sight of any opinion you might have because you're so busy trying to people please and trying to be one with the group, right? And though I had that type of thinking, that catastrophic thinking, that negative projector in my mind, what if something bad happens? Well, I could imagine all sorts of bad things happening all the time. You give me a scenario, I'll give you 5 things right off the top of my head. What might go wrong? Oh my goodness. And it's very limiting to live that way, don't you think?
Yeah.
You might have a person or two in your life that lives that way, maybe. I don't know. Think about someone in your life maybe that you have that, you just wish they could just kind of let that go, even if for just a little bit, right? I moved to Florida, thought it was going to fix me. Got married a couple of times, got divorced a couple of times. Florida didn't fix me. There's this old saying, everywhere I went, there I was.
Yeah.
See, I don't have to say anything else. You guys already get it. You already get it, right? Everywhere I went, there I was. And so my thinking came with me. So it didn't matter what my outer circumstances were. My thinking was what was getting me into more and more difficulties. And so then I wander into a Unity Church on December 20th of 2009. And the way I got there was I had just gone through a divorce. I didn't feel comfortable in the church, going back to the church I had been attending, because my husband and I had been going there together, and it just didn't feel right anymore. And so I woke up that Saturday morning and I realized I didn't have a church to go to for the first time in 49 years of living. And that didn't seem right. And I started to cry. I could feel the tears coming. And then the very next second, the word unity came to mind. Now, I will tell you that I didn't even know what unity was, but I knew there was a Unity Church in Fort Myers, but I didn't know what they were all about, because they had this funny sign up there that said, spiritual community. Why don't they have the word church? What's up with that? So I wanted to check it out. I looked it up and I saw what time the service was, and I went. I have no recollection of what Jim Rosemurgy's message was that day. I know this. I walked in and people hugged me and greeted me and said, "We're glad you're here." They gave me a shell necklace that I put around my neck. I almost wore it today, but it wouldn't have matched my royal purple. They greeted me, they welcomed me, they gave me this packet of information to learn more about Unity, and then Jim got up there. And for those of you who don't know Reverend Jim Rosemurgy from the Unity movement, he has been a minister for over 41 years. He retired last April, but when I met him, he was a Unity minister for over 35 years at that point. He had the Unity of Fort Myers is a big church. There were probably, during season, probably close to 300 people every Sunday coming, which is a big number for a Unity church. And his message was so spot on. His message was just, I have no idea what it was, but I know this, it resonated inside in my heart. Like my body's vibrations started to change as I was sitting there. And I knew I was home. I just didn't know how much of a home I was going to find in Unity. And I just started attending on a regular basis. I got a little confused in the beginning. There's a phrase that we use in Unity called chemicalization, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that's when the ideas that you think you knew the truth about all along, and then you start to hear other truth, and then you get very confused, right? The things you thought you knew all along in your life, all of a sudden, you're questioning. And let me share with you now, right here, right now, there is nothing wrong with questioning. I grew up in a family where you didn't question authority at all. So you never questioned God. Right. But it's not about questioning God, in my opinion. I think it's a question of questioning my understanding of God. And as I continue on this path, my understanding of God changes. It evolves. It gets different. God doesn't change necessarily. I do. My consciousness changes, my understanding changes, and somehow the outer appearance of my life looks different as a direct result of this. So I'm seeing some heads nod, so this is good. You guys get where I'm coming from, right? Yeah. So this is where I started to think about another what if. What if I've been wrong about everything? Right? Like one of my fears was early on, as a young adult especially, when I had 2 small children and I didn't know what I was doing raising them, my question was always, well, what if they find out I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like, I've got this real good mask on right now, but what if they find out I don't have a clue, right? So now it's changed to what if I've been wrong about everything? And what I found out, the answer to that question is very simple. That's okay. I can be wrong about anything today, because as long as I'm open and willing to receiving different information, it's okay for me to process it. It's okay to change my mind. Charles Fillmore said that all the time. I reserve the right to change my mind. Right? I fall back on Charles every chance I get on certain things, because it's true. Because I don't have all of the information yet. Right? That's what this path is all about. Yeah? Okay. So I meet Jim. I start coming to the church. I meet his wife Nancy, and I'm just feeling a part of. I joined the welcome team. I know that we have an usher team here and things like that, and I joined the welcome team because I knew how to hug. And I wanted a hug. And so I did that for about a year or so. I was hugging and I was ushering and I was just getting to know more and more people there. And I just felt so close to them. And even as what I call chemicalization was going on, these new ideas that were creeping in and challenging my, what we call embedded theology, you know, that those deep down beliefs that I was taught as a child, even then I felt so at home at Unity. It just made sense, you know. And then it happened. I decided to make a career move. I had been an office manager most of my life in you know, different businesses. And I decided I wanted to work with people in recovery, recovering from addiction. And so I got a job at the age of 51. I got a job as a clinician in a 28-day program. And I was really doing well at it. I went back to school to get my master's degree. And then it happened. They announced in church that the office administration position was open, that they had let the office administrator go, and that they were looking for someone to work there full time. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I just left office administration to become something different. I am not going to do this. Spirit was not going to let me get away with that. And so it was like this obsessive thought running through my mind, like a hamster on a wheel, over and over again. You've got to work with Jim Rosemurgy. You have to work with Jim Rosemurgy. And I thought, but I'm not changing careers. You know how ego likes to just put its foot down, yes? And, nope, not going to do it, and you can't make me, right? That's my 5-year-old self. And so I picked up the phone and I called, and lo and behold, I got the job. And so in August of 2013, I started working for Jim. In October of 2013, Jim Rosemurgy's body experienced a heart attack. And so within 6 weeks of my starting to work there, suddenly, because it was just him and I in the office together, suddenly I'm running things on my own, and he's in the hospital having triple bypass surgery. And we got through it, and his example of how to deal with a healing situation was amazing. He will never, when he comes to speak anywhere, he will never refer to it as my heart attack. He will always refer to it as the heart event. He does not claim it. But that's the man I learned from. That's the teachings that I come from. And we worked together, and I decided I wanted to be a licensed Unity teacher, and I went for it. He supported me all the way, and I went for all the classes, and it takes about 3 years altogether if you really do it. If you focus on it, you got 25 classes to take before you even go into leadership classes, right? So I go through this whole process, and I'm good, licensed Unity teacher. That's all I need to be. You did hear in the introduction I'm in ministerial school, right? So, licensed Unity teacher. I'm in week 3 of leadership classes. It's April of 2016, and I'm in the Peace Chapel out at Unity Village. And if you've been out there, the Peace Chapel is a very tiny room where Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, used to pray and meditate. And on a Tuesday morning, I left that Peace Chapel with this beautiful affirmation: I am willing, open to all possibilities. I thought, isn't that cute? At noon that day, my friend turns to me, my new friend, who I met the day before, because we were in class for the very first time together. She says to me, are you going to the luncheon that's going to describe the new ministerial program? Are you going to that luncheon? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to that. I already know I'm not going to become a minister. Licensed Unity teacher is good enough for me. And she says, well, don't let me go along. Please come with me. So like the good friend I am, I go to the luncheon with her, right? Somewhere in the middle of that luncheon, the woman said something that clicked. It just sparked in my brain. And I thought, I could do that, like very nonchalantly. I could do that. And the next thought was a scream of, no, no. It was the funniest experience now. It was not funny when I was going through it, but it's funny now. I left that lunch and I turned to my new friend and I said, do you know how angry I am at you right now? And I ran into some teachers and we started, and one teacher just looked me in the eye. She didn't even know where I was, and she said, you're going to become a minister, aren't you? I thought, what? So I went running back to Jim in Fort Myers after that trip, and I described the whole thing to him. I left out one thing. I did not tell him where I was meditating. Regularly, we meditated in the Fillmore Chapel, never the Peace Chapel. I had never been in the Peace Chapel before. When I finished my whole story and explained my entire panic to him about this new idea, he looked me straight in the eye and he said, the Peace Chapel does that to people. So his suggestion to me, well, first of all, let me just step back for 1 second. Jim's philosophy in anything that you're facing is wait 3 days. It's just a standard phrase. When we at Unity, Fort Myers, were ever going through anything, we just looked at each other, wait 3 days, and we were good. Well, he looked me straight in the eye and he said, you, my dear, need to wait 40. 40 days. He said that's the appropriate amount of time to get through the whole process. To go into it with what are your fears, what are your anxieties, what don't you want to do, what is your, what's the pushback all about, take it in, and at the end of 40 days, during 40 days, things will come up, they will go away, they will come back up, they will go away again, and you'll be left with the bottom line, right? So I went through the 40-day process because I trusted him. I trusted that what he said would work. And the reason I trusted that was because I watched him implement these teachings in his own life. He didn't just walk the walk, he talked the talk. So I went back and I did that. The 3 things I took into this process with me was, I didn't want to write any more research papers. I had just finished a master's degree in human services. I was over that. I didn't want to do that. I was too old. I would be over 60 before I got ordained. And financial insecurity. How am I going to pay for this? This is not an educational program where you can apply for student loans, right? You have to kind of come up with it yourself. So at the end of the 40 days, the only thing that was left was the fear of financial insecurity. That's not a reason not to go to ministerial school. So I sent in the application. And I started. That was in June. I announced it at my first talk in Fort Myers in June of 2016, and they all stood up. They were so excited, and then started shouting, "We told you so!" So, first of all, if you take nothing away from this talk, take this. Never say never, friends. Just never say never. But that leads me into my next point, is it's about changing our perceptions. What if I change my perception? What if I open myself up to new possibilities and new ideas, even if it's outrageous stuff, like leave Florida and move to New England at the tail end of winter when they might get some nor'easters. It wasn't exactly the thought, but that's what's happening, right? So what happens when I change my perception? When I change my perception, I look at things differently. And when I look at things differently, those things start to appear differently to me. It's amazing how that energy works. I had to learn, and I have learned this in Unity, and I'm learning it more and more every day. I have to change the definitions that I assign to things and the labels that I put on people. My definition of success was much different at the age of 25 than it is now. Right? So success is different for all of us. And as we get older, as we mature, as we grow spiritually, as we become more aware of our spiritual divinity, definitions change. And that's okay. It doesn't have to stay the way it's always been. Some things might, and that's okay too. That's the beauty of Unity teachings, I think, is you can't do it wrong. I have a licensed Unity teacher down in Fort Myers. She says that all the time in a beautiful southern drawl. She says, "You can't do it wrong." And she's just a beautiful human being, and she taught me that right away. You just can't do it wrong. It's right for you, right? What's right for me may not be right for you, right? And my definition and your definition, they may all be right, because they're all a part of it. Aren't we all connected? Yeah. We're all one anyway, right? Yeah. So, therefore, these definitions are just variations on ourselves, right? So my final what if I change my mind? Right? I changed my mind about becoming a ministerial student. And I'm telling you, I am in year 2 of a 4-year commitment to take classes, because I'm taking classes part-time. And it is whooping my butt. But still, I'm doing it. I'm actually halfway through the second year of 4 years already. I can't believe how quickly it's gone through, right? I'm so glad I did this. I am such a different person even now than I was just 2 years ago. It just keeps happening, and the ideas keep popping in, and I keep acting on them more and more, and it's just amazing. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't picked up the phone. The idea of moving to New England and not moving in with my family was kind of attractive to me, because I thought it was all or nothing, black and white thinking, right? I'm either going to be in Florida 1,600 miles away from everybody, or I'm going to move in with them. There's no in between. And that's not true. So once I found the in between, I picked up the phone, I called Cherie Ruffo, and because we're students together, and by the time I hung up the phone, I already had a place to live. I wasn't calling her for that. I was calling to find out about churches in the area. Just wanted to get a general idea of what I should check out. Worcester was at the top of the list. So it's amazing. So if I change my mind, this is what I can do. I can show up here as love. I can show up here as peace. I can show up here as joy. I can show up here as all of those beautiful qualities that we all have. And I can just mirror them back to you. What you see in me is only recognized because you have the same thing in you. You can't see it in me unless you have it in you. So remember that. Okay? Very, very important. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but I was very nervous this morning, so I was noticing everything. And when we were going through the stuff from the screen, when we were reading Daily Word about being a comfort to others, when we were looking at the songs, how can I show up today? How can I serve? All of that stuff, it all ties in with this message. Completely and absolutely, and it wasn't planned, right? Because I'm telling you right now, Cherie and I worked on research papers yesterday for almost 12 straight hours. We were delirious when Joellen called to tell us that we needed a CD of music. So she's like, how about this song? And how about that song? Yeah, that's great. You know, we didn't even know what we were talking about anymore. I didn't know what we had picked. I knew that I recognized the songs. I knew they would be perfect, but it wasn't really planned. You know, that's what I love about this. I love being here with you. I'm looking forward to coming here every Sunday. I'm looking forward here to, maybe being an usher, maybe being a prayer chaplain, helping out, maybe teaching some classes. I am a licensed Unity teacher. I'm available. I can teach. I even know how to teach classes and get you signed up online and submit grades online now. I'm like, holy cow, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to just getting to know you as a community and just spending time together and growing together. This is, I've kind of decided this is going to be my new Unity community. I hope you're okay with that, but I'm not asking. I don't know what the roles are going to be. We're going to let it unfold as it goes along, but I'm looking forward to doing the workshop after this service on Hell in the Hallway, Light at the Door. You will find out more intimate details about my life. They're pretty funny. I could write a book, and I will at some point. But if you can stay for the workshop, I would love that, because we'll be able to get into that idea of what is it like to be in between changes. That hallway can be very challenging, and there's a whole ton of different hallways. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a little bit about me, a little bit about Unity, and I think maybe now we can take some time to go into meditation and let some of these ideas sink in just a little bit deeper. What do you think? Yeah. So it is. Amen. Just get comfortable in your seats now. You can close your eyes if you so choose, but you don't have to. And take a deep breath in. And as you exhale out, just relax into your chair. Another deep breath in. Exhale out and relax even more. We relax into this present moment, here and now. I am love. I show up as love. I am peace. I show up as peace. And I am joy. Everywhere I go, I show up as joy. What if I recognize that I am already winning? What does that look like? What if I acknowledge that I am whole and complete just as I am? What would that look like? What if I am successful? Where will I go? What will I do? And how will I share it with the world? We take these thoughts into the silence, breathing, relaxing, welcoming Spirit's guidance. Begin to realize that I am love, peace, joy, each and every day. I consciously show up each day, meeting with people, expressing the love that I am, the peace that I am, the joy that I am. Nothing can change that, ever. And for this, and so much more, I am truly, truly grateful. And so it is. Amen. Gently come back to this room. Take a couple of deep breaths. Smile when you return. Beautiful smiles. Thank you.